Hello, this is Dr. Karen, and I am the founder and executive director of Empowering People with Invisible Chronic Illness Foundation. We're best known as the EPIC Foundation. Our slogan is Together We Are Epic, and I truly believe that. So I'm sitting here with Darryl Brown. He is a
Hey,
member of our executive board. Hi, Darryl.
how are you?
Good to see you. Good. Good to see you today.
Good to see you too.
Um, Okay, sorry. Okay. So my computer was acting up for a second, but we're back. Um,
Okay.
so so today, Darryl, I'm so glad to be back. We
Yes.
have not done the dates with Darryl for a while, but I'm so happy we're doing it now. And today we are doing a Q and A. So we're giving people the opportunity to ask questions in our chat, and then you and I can answer them. So I'm really excited about today. So you excited?
Yes. Yes.
um,
Yes. It's good to see.
yeah. So we already have one person, Zane Wilson. Hi, Zane. Good to see you. She says hi. And so,
Hey, Zen.
Zane, I don't know if you have a question, but if anyone wants to ask any questions, please feel free to ask. And then we will take it from there. But so I'll wait on the questions. But while we're waiting on the questions, Darryl, we were talking about before we started the live, we were kind of talking about how important it is to just take things day by day, right?
Yes, you have to. You have to. It's very important to take it day by day. I'm learning when you do that, it keeps you from having too many high highs and too many low lows. It keeps you consistent. Like we just talking about consistency in our health and how we feel.
Yeah.
And we're trying to change some things because for a lot of people, every day is a struggle. And
Yeah.
so I think the best way to handle it is you just day by day. I mean, I look every day to get better, but if it doesn't, then I'm looking for the next day to be better.
Yeah.
And so, but any day you're able to, you're awake and you're moving around a little bit. It's a good day. It's a
That's
good day.
right.
Yes.
That's
I would rather not the alternative. So, um, day by day.
day by day.
Day
Yeah.
by
Waking up is a good thing. I literally, Darryl, I don't know if I've talked about this ever, but I literally used to be afraid to go to sleep because I was afraid that I wouldn't wake up. Like I had an actual fear of
Wow.
not being able to wake up because um in my particular illness community, we've had a lot of people who have died in their sleep. And
Yes.
so like my husband used to have to like hold me at night and just like pray over me and like just to calm me down, like it's gonna be all right. You will wake up. Like,
Wow.
close your eyes, and I'll just be sitting there like, no, I ain't going to sleep. 'Cause I'm not. It was real. Yeah.
Wow. That what Bernie Mac said, taking drinking coffee and taking notos. You stay it up. That's rough.
Mhm.
I it's funny, I had that well as a child. I had the opposite. I hoped I didn't wake up. But
Wow.
now I look forward to waking up. So I'm with you. I want to wake up in the morning. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what's going to happen the very next day. Yeah, it might be a rough day, but I'm still excited to see what the day is going to bring. You just never know. You just never
Yeah.
know. That I'm glad that you were able to maneuver through that and see again one of the things we've talked about off and on is so important to have a support group
Yeah.
that your husband was there to kind of help you get through that process because that would be something I would think would be hard to get through by yourself,
Yeah.
you know. And so that's why I say I can't wait to be here. Um, I'm always interested in meeting spouses of people who have critical illnesses
Yeah.
or or handicaps or however whatever they are, but just illness period. You don't have to be critical, just illness period, and just the whole support thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, especially nowadays, the littlest thing, folk out the door, they out the door,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
so that's I've been wanting to meet him, and just I admire your husband, I really do. I admire your husband. I admire my wife for being able to deal with this stuff on a consistent basis every day.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I was wondering what it was going to look like, because she's off in the summer because she's a teacher. So I was like, all right, we're going to see what this is going to look like when she goes back to work. And
Yeah.
yesterday was her first day.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah. And so I did all right. On my own. Just, you adjust. I learned to
Yeah.
adjust. And
Yeah.
so if it's like today, um, I had some things on my mind I wanted to do, but as we were speaking earlier about that vertigo, I had a
Yeah.
little small vertigo attack this morning, and so I said, "Well, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna stay here until we have to get up. If
Yeah.
you don't, you gotta take the pressure off of yourself." That goes back to what we talked about last week about giving yourself grace. You gotta take the pressure off. And I
Yeah.
remember one time my wife said to me, "Do you have to do something every day?" And in my mind, I did, because as a child, uh, Shirley Brown Melvin Brown, how you sit around all day and do nothing,
Hmm.
and so you had to do something. And so I'm still there, and so I had to get to a point where I had to begin to tell myself, okay, you didn't get anything done today. That's all right though. Do it
Yeah.
tomorrow. You
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
day
hear
by day.
you. Day by day. Day by day. All right, Darryl, we're going to get to this question from
All
Zane.
right.
She said, yes, I do two of them. She has two questions. She said, I am still having trouble being moderate because I am a workaholic and I feel sometimes like a loser. Also, I still don't know exactly how to explain to people I am sick when I don't look like it. Okay. All right, Zane. So, um, these are very good questions, and I think, and let me know if I'm tackling this correctly. So the first question, it sounds like what you're saying is that you push yourself. One thing that we talked about on our last live actually is that you push yourself pretty hard, because if you sort of scale back, you feel like a loser. You feel like you're not doing enough. And I'm guessing the question is, how do you scale back and get that balance, or not like push yourself beyond your limits and still feel okay about yourself. Let me know if I'm wrong about how I interpreted that, Zane. But Darryl, do you want to tackle that
Yeah, I
question?
got actually I have one for both.
Okay.
Uh, I used to be like that. Um, and then I learned something. And what I learned was it's very simple. Either you sit down or your body is going to sit you down.
Mm,
So that wanting to overachieve, and I think a lot of it comes from, again, like she just said, she feels like a loser. Well, no, you don't. No, you're not a loser. First of all, yeah, that's first. You're not a loser. Secondly, most people who don't have what it is she's dealing with, most can't function on a day that she might find, difficult. They can't function at all. So you got to stop considering yourself to being a loser, because every day when you get up and you still deal with the same thing every day, in and out, shows that you're an overcomer. That's first. But I had to learn, go sit down somewhere. It's all right. If you don't complete everything in a day, it's all right.
Yeah.
You got, I think all that's just a mindset. It's just a mindset. But you got to be all right with that. The second one, the second question,
Mm-hmm.
you don't explain yourself to anybody.
Mm.
I'm over that.
Ooh, that hit me.
I'm
That
over that.
that
I'm over
resonated
that.
with me.
I'm over
Wow.
that. I don't owe anybody an explanation. Nobody.
So,
I don't owe you an explanation. And it's for me, it's just that simple. I don't owe you an explanation. I'm doing the very best I can.
wow.
And
Yeah.
after that, as I tell people all the time, what can you do after you've done your best? Nothing. And it's like and like she said, there are a lot of people who have illnesses that you can't see. I have illnesses that people can't see,
Mm-hmm.
even though you can see the way I walk, but there are other things that I deal with. And I'm not going to sit up here and explain to you
Mm-hmm.
why I have to do things differently. I have a friend of mine who has a handicap, and I had to tell him, why do you find it necessary to have to explain your situation to everybody? Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. It's just
Yeah.
you don't owe anybody an explanation. As I, sometimes I say to myself, or I used to say to them, "Well, you do this every day and say how you like it."
Mm.
You know. So that second one was easy. Stop explaining. If they don't understand, it's too bad. What are you gonna
That
do?
was good. That's good.
You can't.
Because
But
the funny part was, Darryl, when and Zane says it was a great answer, and yes, it is. Because the funny part was, I was sitting here, and before you started answering the questions, my wheels were spinning. Like, what can I say about how to explain that you have a chronic illness?
that
Our
ain't
mind
deep.
go there. Now, see, that's it, right? Because why do we feel the need to explain why we are sick, but we don't look sick? Why do we feel the need to explain that? And yet, when we do explain it, I got to tell you, I think it was like a year or so ago, I had learned, I'm not going to say how I learned this, but I had learned that there were certain loved ones, extended family members, or what have you, that allegedly, supposedly, were saying that they were sick and tired of hearing about my chronic illnesses. And
Mm,
I was so hurt. I mean, and to elaborate, it was said allegedly that, um, uh, that, people were just like really, that they were really tired of me talking about the foundation and talking about, the same things about Epic, and that it was just too much. And I like cried for days. I cried for days, and then I ended up lashing out, and it was just like totally out of character, but it was out of hurt. But what was so fascinating to me, and the reason I bring this up, is because, here I was feeling like I have to constantly explain myself. I have to constantly talk
mm.
about what's going on with me. And yet the opposite response than what so here I am trying to explain myself so people understand. And then I got the opposite response, which was, dang, girl, you talking too much. You're explaining too much. So I realized then that, like, you can't, sometimes you just can't, you feel like you can't win, and you're exhausting all this energy trying to get people to understand, and either way they just might not get it. And I have to be okay with that, because
Yeah,
I'm the one that has to live my life. Ain't that right?
yeah. You got to be okay with it. I don't care who it is. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not explaining anything. If I'm in the way, then go around me or do whatever you got to do. Because I'm too old. We don't switch gears. I tell people, I said, take your time. Well, I don't switch gears no more. I'm too slow now. This is what you'll get.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. I think sometimes it's because we feel self-conscious, or again, we feel like we're less than, or as Zane said, we're losers. No, you're just different. And so what happens when you're different, you got to do stuff different than everybody else. And to constantly explain every, no, I'm not doing that. I mean, everywhere we go, people are staring at me. Do you actually think I'm gonna sit up and explain to you what's wrong with me everywhere I go? And if I did, would you really even understand what I was saying in the first place?
Right.
So, um, you just, I'm just not, I'm not doing that. I'm not. You don't understand? It's too bad, you know. And yeah, I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not doing it because, like I said, I was talking in front of me, and every 5 seconds, while I was telling them, I was explaining this. Would you? What are you sorry for? Would you please stop doing that?
Right.
Please stop doing that. And
Right.
even when you do that, like you said, sometimes you get the wrong answer, and it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Because you want the person to understand. Because of relationship, they could be a family member or a good friend or somebody. So the expectations that you have is, once I explain this, then they'll have an aha moment. No, they
Yeah.
won't. Some don't.
Yeah.
They didn't understand before, and they still don't understand.
Yeah.
And so that's something they got to get over. And so no, I'm not necessary. It's just
Yeah.
not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when I think a lot of that again has to do with feeling good about yourself. You know, uh, it was interesting. Just about a week ago, I noticed this, and she'll hear this for the very first time. I think my wife was saying something to me, and I guess the way I responded, she found it necessary to say, "No, you're not in the way." And I thought to myself, I said, "What did I just say? I must have said it wrong." Because sometimes we have a tendency, you probably speak to this too. We kind of have a tendency before we can catch it, we tell our true feelings, you know?
Yeah.
And so even though I didn't, I may have presented myself as though I didn't think I was in the way in my mind, partially, but obviously I said something that made her think I felt like I was in the way. And so, um, so that's all mental. You gotta, I'm constantly working on my brain, my mind, my mindset, constantly every single day, because I feel like I don't want to be a burden to nobody. And so when you start explaining that, it's because you feel like you're a burden to somebody, obviously.
Yeah.
And if you explain to them, well, maybe you'll be less of a burden. No, most of the time you're not to
Yeah.
them, to them, you know. And it's like I said, um, how about you do this every day?
Yeah.
You do this every day. You do. I used to always have. I used to have to say, I was like the Marines. I've done more by 12 o'clock than most people have done all day. Just in having to do simple stuff, it takes a lot of energy doing that simple stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But again, I think it goes back to what we talked about last week: giving yourself some grace.
Grace. Yeah.
And give those who don't understand the grace. I had to kind of stop for a second and make sure I say this right, because, like I said, I also have something that I'm trying to work on: sarcasm. I'm working on that. So
You're working on that.
I'm
Yeah.
working on that hard because I had another answer, but I did, but you got to work on that. You got to work on that. It's every day. It's a mental exercise. You may be dealing with something physical, but if you don't keep your mind right, it can affect the rest of your day,
Yeah.
and you cannot allow your environment to
Yeah.
affect how you feel. So long answer short, stop explaining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that spoke to me today. That was really impactful because sometimes we feel the need to explain, and especially because, like, you know, people want answers. I mean, we just have this human instinct to want to like explain why things are happening the way that they
Mm-hmm.
are. And I found that, like, especially if I, you know, if I'm having a bad day, and I'm talking about like certain symptoms that I'm having,
Mm-hmm.
I find that sometimes people will want me to like justify how I did everything that I could possibly do to avoid having these symptoms. They won't
Mm-hmm.
say it, but they'll like sort of say, well, I mean, I'm sure you didn't try this, and it's probably because you didn't do that, and blah, blah, blah. And they're not trying to be mean, but after a while, you're like, okay, well, am I gonna like write a dissertation on why I'm having the symptoms that I'm having? Like, sometimes things are the way they are, and it's just because like there's no particular rhyme or reason, or you can't like connect the dots to any particular thing that you did or you didn't do. But it's like you get tired of being like a scientific dictionary sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
walking around having to explain every little thing.
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of times you get one of two responses: either they don't understand, or they think they understand, and now
Right.
they have the answer for you as to how
Right.
you
Oh,
should have done what you're supposed to do.
right.
And so I'm like, oh, because they make it seem so simple. Like, well, all
Right.
you had to do was this, and this. Oh, okay. And I just, again, the sarcasm, but I just think to myself, bless your heart, bless your heart.
Right.
You came and had a headache. So bless your heart,
Right.
bless your heart,
Right.
you know. And so I just let people kind of do what they're going to do, say what they're
Yeah.
going to say. But again, you got to stay out of your feelings,
Right.
because a lot of the times when you explain yourself, like I said, they think they know what you're talking about, or they'll feel sorry for you. And you don't
Hmm.
want either one of those. Because
Right.
feeling sorry for you doesn't work either.
Right. You don't want the
Yeah.
pity party. Yeah.
Yeah, handling you as if you got like with kid gloves or something. Like now
Right.
you're fragile. And I'm like,
Right.
oh no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. So for me sometimes I just rather not explain anything, and mainly because of that, because there people try to come from a good place,
Hmm.
but sometimes that good place is not good for you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
so like I said, feeling sorry for yourself, feeling sorry for uh, that's the last thing you need.
Hmm.
You'll need that. You need people to be helpful, but
Yeah.
not too much.
Right. Right.
Sometimes, things that you can do for yourself, you should be allowed to do those. Because one of the things that I have found out, and I think this is for anybody,
Hmm.
if somebody's wanting to do everything for you, eventually you're gonna get to the point you're gonna let them.
Hmm.
And so that's not good.
Yeah.
So you gotta find that place. But in all of that, like I said, you just gotta keep your mind right,
That's right.
because you gotta be able to. Because once you explain yourself now, whatever answer you get back, you got to be ready for that answer.
Hmm.
And so so that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Zane has a couple of comments here. I'm glad to have you with us, Zane. This is good. Um, she said, yes, it is both mental and physical. Hard to remember that. And she said, thanks for the reminder. And then she said, or if I look drunk because I'm having trouble walking, I feel like I have to say something. Yeah, Zane, I totally get that, because there are times, that like
Mm-hmm.
with illness affects your cognition, or if you're like or even like we were talking about vertigo earlier, that may impact the way that you walk. Or I know that there are times where if I'm in a cortisol low, like I have troubles like just even completing sentences, And there was a time where I had to go to the hospital on an ambulance, and there was this weird symptom that I was having where like I was thinking, like I could think something but I couldn't speak. And so this the EMT kept saying, "What's your name? What's your name?" And I could not say it, and he accused me of faking. So like all the way the whole way to the hospital, he kept saying like, "You're faking." It was horrible. And he kept telling his partner like she must be faking, like she's alert but she won't talk to us and all this. And I ended up talking to the local the chief of the emergency services and
I'm
doing some
sure.
type stuff. But yeah, Zane, like you're right. Like you feel like sometimes you like people will think this certain thing about me because I'm exhibiting a certain symptom. How do I get them to understand it? Um, Later on, she said, "Ha ha, you're describing some of my family members."
Yeah, it could be. It can be interesting sometimes when you. Yeah, it can. It can be.
Right.
It really can. You know.
um, yeah. So what? And I had one more thing to add, but it kind of goes along with this next question that she asked. She said, "Okay, one more. How do you ask for help?" This is interesting, Darryl, because we've been talking about this the last couple of lives, right? Like putting
Mm.
yourself out there, vulnerability, and asking for what you need. She said, "I do all for myself. I hate to ask for help." Zane, I just want to say something to you in regards to that. When we were talking about, not having to explain, I was thinking about one thing, one exception, which is um, more of the what I was just talking about, the educational piece. If it is for the sake of educating people, like we do at the Epic Foundation, we educate people in order to save lives, help people, support people, advocate. You want them to know more. Like every month, we highlight illnesses, where the it's that illnesses awareness month. So that is, that's where explanations are important when you are educating someone to, promote positive change. And that bleeds into the next question, which is asking for help. So, part of asking for help is letting people know more about, educating people about what it is that we need. But the people that you educate, it doesn't have to be like everyone in the world. You might have a small circle that you trust, that you can be vulnerable with. And then, I'll let Darryl speak to this because you've always had great insights about this. But, you know, how to decide who you tell
Mm-hmm.
about what it is that you need, because you might not be able to share that with everyone. But if your spouse, if that's your person, or your sibling, I don't know who would be in that small circle, but those are the people who you would feel, or allow yourself the vulnerability rather. I had a tongue tie there. Um, to tell what you need, because there are times where we hold back what we need and then we get ourselves into trouble, right? We get
Yeah.
ourselves into trouble. Before Darryl takes over this, I want to let you know there are a couple of Facebook users who have said, someone said, "Hi, Dr. Karen." Hi back. It will come up on our comments as Facebook user unless you have specifically signed up with StreamYard. So until we like go back and look at the comments on Facebook later, I cannot see who you are. So if you have not signed up with StreamYard yet, if you can do me a favor, and then like if you make a comment or ask a question, if you can type in your name, um, uh, that would be very helpful. That'd be very helpful to us. But anyway, Darryl, did you have any comments or feedback about, about asking for help?
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm trying to make sure I word this properly. One of the things that I've learned, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. And then I have a tendency to kind of address things like this the wrong way. I'm going to start that off with that. I think when it comes to, first of all, asking for help, you got to get over yourself. That's first. You got to get over yourself. Everybody needs help. Nobody can live on an island. Secondly, I agree with what you said. You got to know who to ask. And sometimes it is not the people who you think.
Mm.
So I just recently had a situation kind of like that. And this is why I say you got to do it a little different than I do, because if you give me the wrong answer, 9 times out of 10, I'm never going to ask you ever again in this life,
Mm.
ever again. And that's not smart. That's not smart. But I can remember a long time ago, um, my mother, when she was alive, she asked me to go get some dirt from the landscaping place. And as she was walking away, as I was walking away, she said, "Get help if you need it." And I said, thinking I was doing the right thing, saying the right thing based on how I was raised, because they taught me to be as independent as possible. I said, "I'm independent." And my father said, "It's one thing to be independent, it's another thing to be stupid.
Mm.
So don't be stupid. If you need help, you ask for help." But again, it goes back to you got to know who to ask, because sometimes we can ask people and we get the wrong answers. And so now we're kind of gun shy as to asking for help.
Right.
But you gotta know the people that you're around, um, and you cannot. And this is one thing I had to learn, even with your own spouses. You have to learn what their limitations are,
Mm-hmm.
because we all got them. And so um, it may be a day where they may not be at 100%, and it's okay.
Right.
So you have somebody else, but don't hold it against them
Right.
because they were having a day.
Right.
And so, but yeah, my main thing about that is you gotta, if you need help, you need help.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta know who to ask. And then sometimes you gotta kind of prioritize things. If it's something that can wait, let it wait.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try and figure out a different way of going about it, or just let it wait. Some stuff can wait. Everything is not an emergency.
Yeah.
And so, again, I had things on my plate that I wanted to do today, and I got zero done today.
Mm-hmm.
I have therapy in about another hour and a half. And I already know I'm not going to get it done in an hour and a half. So guess what? I'll do it tomorrow. And if I can't get it to tomorrow, I'll do it another day. But again, one of the things that I'm learning as we all get older, um, regardless of what it is you're dealing with, we all slow down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you have to find different ways to do things. I try to figure out every day how to do something that I did yesterday that I now today, because I don't feel like I did yesterday. I got to do it again today, but I got to do it differently because of how I feel.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes, I'll let it wait.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have my wife to do it possibly, or like the situation we just had. She just had surgery, and so she wasn't able to do some stuff, and neither was I.
Yeah.
But guess what? Either we let it wait or we'll ask someone else. Again, it goes back to having a really good support group.
Mhm.
We have a very good support group, and so it's very important with people that they create a good support group.
Yeah.
Very important. But also it's very important that you be understanding too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't get help because we have an attitude.
Mhm.
You know? And it may not even be purposely. You
Mhm.
know, you might just be tired of feeling like this every day. And so when
Yeah.
people try to interact with you, you come off all mean and stuff, and you're not gonna get any help. You're not
Yeah.
getting help that way, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question properly. I have a tendency to ramble. So if I start rambling, please, ma'am, stop me.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good information to me. I love that answer. I love that answer. Somebody said, Mr. Brown, good point about knowing who to ask and knowing the limitations of the people you ask. That's a great, yeah, that was a great point because um, sometimes I don't think about that. I don't think about the fact that maybe they just can't help me, or they can't
They
help me.
do not have the capacity.
That's right.
They don't have it. And they could be somebody who you've been around all your life. They don't have it. And so you got to understand that and be okay with it and move on because you will
Mhm.
fall out
Yeah.
over somebody who does not have the capacity.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the saying that they say, what's that saying? Believe them who they tell you are the first time.
Yeah. When they
When
tell
people
you
tell you
who
who
you
they
are,
are the first time, believe them.
believe them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, just because you might have a sister, a brother, a cousin, a best friend, does not mean they're super people.
Hmm.
They have limitations too. And so, yeah, you gotta know. You gotta, certain people. I'm not asking because I know you don't have the capacity for that. And then too with this, people have to be very patient. So if you're dealing
Hmm.
with people who are not very patient, guess what you're gonna get?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would encourage. Zane says, great point. Um, thanks for typing his response because my screen keeps freezing. Sorry about Zane, you're having power issues. Sorry about that. We'll be thinking of you, and I pray that your power, if you're saying that your power is acting or is going out, I pray that your power comes back on. That everything, all is well. Okay. But I want to tell our audience that definitely look at and share our last week's talk on grace, because a lot of these points will make a lot of sense combined with our conversation about grace, right? I mean, and we talked about grace towards ourselves and then grace towards others. I think it's a very important conversation to have.
Yeah. You got to be okay with you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people explain things because they don't, because one, it might be a new situation or
Mm-hmm.
they're not okay with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, I went a lot of years, I wasn't okay with me.
Yeah.
And now I'm okay with me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and that's when I stopped explaining myself. I'm still learning the grace part. I'm not
Yeah.
giving other people. I'm learning to give myself grace because
Yeah.
sometimes it's just too hard on myself. But I really enjoyed last week though.
Mm-hmm.
I kept saying I really like that. I like that you came up with a very good topic because I think everybody needs to learn how to do that. I don't care
Right.
if you could be perfectly fine. Everybody needs to learn how to do that.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So someone said, and again, I can't see your name until we go on the Facebook um, thread later on. But so if you want us to know your name, please type it in when you're making the comment. But this person said, you're absolutely right. Not everyone has the capacity. I help people in a support group that Doc Karen belongs to. Oh, I think I know who you are. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't see you. Like your name doesn't come up here, but I know who you are now. Okay. It says many people have found that those who they think they can count on are not there for them. Support groups are a great way to find people. Yeah, I figured it out, Kristen. It's my friend Kristen Scott. Yeah, I figured it out as I was reading it. It drives me crazy that it won't let me see some of the
It's the
name brand.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you sign into StreamYard. So thank you for that. I would have eventually seen your name once I went back on Facebook, but thank you for that. Once you said, I help people in a support group, I was like, I know who this is. Oh, it says support groups are a great way to find people who can support you and who will understand. Yes, that's another thing. Support groups, because like there are like-minded people coming together, helping to support each other. But you know what, Kristen? Even in support groups, you will find the irony of people belonging to a support group, but they don't want to support nobody. They don't want to, and they're very sometimes people are even guarded about the types of support that they will even receive or accept.
Yeah.
So like you'll find that in some support groups, people ask for support, but they only want to hear what they want to hear. And then
Yeah.
if you tell them an unpopular opinion, or if you
Yeah.
tell them something they don't want to hear, then all of a sudden you're evil and you're this and
Yeah.
maybe not evil, but I've been called evil before, but I
Yeah.
digress. But all of a sudden people are
You're
like
right.
projecting this narrative onto you about who you are. It's like, I just try to give you some advice. So yeah.
Yeah. And and sometimes you just find yourself around people like my neighbor. He dropped out of heaven, literally, almost. He's just ever since I've known him. I don't even consider my neighbor anymore. He's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
He's always there to help support, and we ask, and he'll do it. And he tells me all the time, I don't want, because I always feel like, if you're helping me, I got to do something,
Yeah.
and so he always tells, I don't want your money. And so those type of people are far and few between.
Mm-hmm.
Far and few between. And then you have people who will help you, but then they'll tell everybody in the world they helped you.
Oh yeah, that's
See,
right.
then I'm no, we done with that. That's a one and done for me. You got to
Yes.
tell everybody that's one and done. We just gonna figure something else out. But
Yeah.
sometimes you just find yourself in environments where people are helpful, and I think a lot of that has to do with personality.
Yeah.
I went to when I went to the doctor yesterday. I walked in and an X-ray technician saw me. She said hello, and and then when I saw her later on, she said I had to put a name with the face, and then she went straight to, "How's your wife?"
Mm-hmm.
She's so sweet, and because of her personality, people just are just drawn. I'm putting it on her because I tell people sometimes she has to be my PR person because I might say the wrong thing. So, she has to come back and fix it. But you gotta have an attitude of gratitude,
Yeah.
because one of the things that we now live in, it is a world that says, I don't have to help you if I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because a long time ago, as the culture was different. It's way different to me now.
Yeah.
um and so, but that older culture, hey, I'm here to help, but not this new one.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta be pliable. You gotta want people to want to help you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
I can remember a few years ago, I was walking towards, my wife had just dropped me off. I may have even mentioned this before. She had dropped me off. We were going to the show, and I was going to walk up on the curb, and I had a hard time walking on the curbs now. And I saw a couple walk towards me, and I said, "Can you help me get on the curb?" And the man started walking towards me, but his girlfriend or wife said, leave him right there at the curb, and walked away in the opposite direction and left me at the curb. So, and then somebody else came up behind them. I guess they saw it or whatever, and then they helped me up on the curb. But you can't be spiteful. You can't be all mean and stuff. You just have to be open. You know what I mean? When I say open, I'm not, you don't let everybody in. That's not what I'm saying. But you gotta put yourself in a position where people want to help you, and not help you because I'm on payroll.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because some people, they're so mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants to help you because you're mean. And so you just, that's why I say sometimes we have to get out of our own way first before anybody can help us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to learn how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to have these conversations because we're always so focused on the medical stuff that we don't talk about the emotional, psychological aspect. And sometimes I got to tell you, when I was at my meanest, it was because I just was grappling with so much around the illness and living with it and dealing with it. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I was not a very pleasant person to be around. But I wasn't dealing with it. I wasn't having these conversations. And so this stuff helps.
It does.
Yeah.
You can change the people around you. They might want to be helpful to you, but because you're so doggone mean and caught up in your own story, you change them in the process.
Yes.
Especially if you're married.
Oh, yeah.
Very understanding. Because I'll tell you quickly, and this is for people who are married, really, or who have someone they live with, or however you want to do it. There has to be a level of understanding that you have to have for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're sitting around being so mean, because you're being mean, like you said, you're so focused on you don't take the other person's feelings in consideration. And they could change their feelings about how they, it's like I said last week, you can literally push somebody out the door because of how you feel about yourself. Because like you said, and I went through a period of time where things just got worse. I mean, when we first got married, I'm working, everything is good. Physically, I'm all right. And then all of a sudden, I'm having all these physical issues. And then next thing I know, I don't have a job anymore. And I just turned into somebody I didn't know.
Yeah.
And bless her heart, she put up with my tail.
Yeah.
And so, but if she had allowed me to, my wife, I could have pushed her straight out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been my fault. It was me. Because I'm so consumed with me right now. I'm not thinking about anybody else because I'm in my woe is me. It's the worst that could ever happen to an individual. No, it's much worse. Much worse. It could be way worse than this. So that's where, again, it goes back to always keeping your mind right.
Mm-hmm.
The best you can.
Yeah. And acknowledging, I think just acknowledging, acknowledging where you're at. Just acknowledging where you're at. And giving space to that for sure. Because sometimes we, it's like we deny where we're at, and then it's like if somebody says, well, you're behaving this way, it's like, no, I'm not, because you're not even acknowledging that you're having a tough day to begin with, or whatever it is.
Yes.
So very good point.
I got
Zane had said earlier, I pay for everything, even overpay. She said, because I feel like I have to. Yeah, sometimes we do feel that way. Like we just
stop. Stop.
Right?
You'll be broke. Stop.
Yeah.
I was the same way for years and years and years. Stop. Zane, stop today.
Stop today. Yeah.
Today. You'll be broke doing that
Yeah.
because you feel like you owe somebody something because of
Right.
how you are. No, you don't. You don't owe anybody. If
No.
somebody does something, they do it out of the kindness of their heart, and if they're doing it for any other reason, it's the wrong reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Don't do that.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lynn says something here. She said, people from my church have helped in emergencies like a basement flood, but don't contact or offer to help otherwise. But that's okay. She said, I have figured out what their capacity to help is, and I'm so grateful for the emergency help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it speaks to their capacity. Thank you, Lynn. I could see your name, so you must have given StreamYard the permission to show your names because I could see your name.
And then also too though, quite
Mhm.
quickly to Lynn, sometimes people don't know. So you gotta tell them.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know. You assume they know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I've learned? Some people, you just gotta tell them. Because what make me obvious to you is not obvious. I just learned this one.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, you gotta tell them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think about it. But you did because you have to live with it. But some people, you just got it. It could be so obvious to you, but for them, it's not. Some people, you just got to tell them.
Yeah. That's such a great point too, because I do a lot of couples therapy, and of course I have to always remind myself of this too. But in the couples work that I do, I will tell people you have to say out loud what you want, what you need, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and oftentimes they'll be like, but it's so obvious. Like, what do you mean? Why do I have to? And I will say, it can get to the point to where people start over analyzing or even analyzing through misinterpretation their
Yeah.
spouse's behavior, assuming that their spouse knows what they need, and interpreting behaviors in a way that's not like it's not right. It's a misinterpretation. So even couples who have been married for a long time, like you and I have, right, have been married for almost 2 decades.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, right. And you think that by then no, you got to
Nope.
say out loud what
Yes.
you need. So that's such a great point. Such a
We're
great
gifted, but I don't know anybody who reads minds. And
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, well, it's kind of obvious. Well, not to you, it's not. Not to them. And so as my wife would say use your words.
Use your words.
Use your
Use your
words.
words.
Yeah, use your words. Because if you don't use your
Absolutely.
words, you can't be mad now. You can't be mad.
Right.
If you don't express, you can't be mad. You didn't
That's
tell
right.
them.
That's right. That's right. So we have time for to read this one last comment here. Can you believe this time we've
I
almost been an
know.
hour?
I
I
know. We
can't.
always say we're gonna stay like half hour in this.
Yeah, we're like
I
we do
love this.
30 minutes.
I got an idea too, but after you read that, I read that.
Yeah. So someone said another good point. I try to keep notes about people so I can ask them about their lives. Like for Doc Karen, I know that she recently sent her daughter off to college. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for thinking of me. It was our point of connection. Notes about people can help us help them feel special and heard. Yeah, that's such a great point. Like people feel special and heard when you remember things about them, or you
Yes.
take note about special things about them. Such a great point. Such a great point.
Yeah.
I think I know who you are. This must be Denise, but such a great point. Yeah. And then when when we when we're able to connect on such a human level that way, it's such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Such a beautiful thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah. This was good. This was
It
good.
was.
I enjoyed my time with
Me
you
too.
once again, Darryl.
I got
Uh,
an idea.
yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna call you when this is done. I have a great. I believe it's gonna be a great idea
Okay.
for you and I.
Can't wait.
When
Can't
I
wait.
when we get off the phone, I mean get off of this talk, I'm gonna call you. I only have a few minutes, but I'm gonna call you. And yeah, something just hit me as we were talking.
Okay.
That I think
Yeah.
we could do.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is from Jack Canfield, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He says, "When you have inspired thought, you must trust it and you must act on it." So,
Okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna say it right now. You don't. I don't need to call you. What do you think about you and I co-authoring a book?
oh wow. Hey, I'm all for it.
What do you think about that?
Hey, I'm all for it. That's
I am
inspired
too.
thought. Yeah, let's do
Because for
it.
the longest, people have been telling me, "You need to write. You need to write. You need to write. You need to write." I hear it all the time. And as you were speaking, I'm like, she and I can do a book together.
Let's do it.
I like that idea.
Let's do
Because
it.
that's what you know what's going to do for me is get people off my back. Because I've been hearing this for my doctors. They're like, "You got to write. You got to do this. You got to," and I'm like, I even had a person suggest I quit my job
Oh
and do
wow.
so. I'm like, no, we're not quitting no jobs. But and then when I did lose the job, somebody said to me, "You mean to tell me all those people had to suffer and lose their jobs because you didn't do what the Lord told you to do? So since you wouldn't leave, everybody had to leave." I'm like, whatever. But yeah, that's an idea. That's an idea.
Let's do it. Let's do
Yes,
it.
ma'am. I like that idea.
Definitely. Definitely. Love it. Love it. I love our dates with Darryl.
Yeah, I love
Uh,
working with you. This is great.
yeah, yeah. I hope everyone who attended enjoyed it. And the great thing is that you know, this will be on our pages, so you can watch it again, go back and watch the one from last week. It also comes up on YouTube. So, if you are watching through YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel, you can like it and share it. Share it with people you think are, don't just hold it to yourself. Share it with people you think are going to benefit
Yeah.
from it, because that's what we do. We share things that are beneficial. Next week I have a doctor's appointment, so I think we're gonna have to wait 2 weeks. But what do you think about doing another Q&A in a couple of weeks?
That works.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
I
um,
That works. That works. That
yeah.
works. It does. I was just thinking I have several doctor's appointments next week, but I think I will be able to do it though.
In 2 weeks.
No, you're right. No, we're good. That's next week. See,
Oh, okay.
it's not getting to go to work. I'm like my days. They
I
just do
know,
something.
like, cause well, I was thinking the same thing. Cause at first my mind skipped to next week. It was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a special.
That's next week.
In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll be back on with our dates with Darryl, and we'll do another Q&A. So if you have a question that you want to ask, if you want to come in with the question on our live, just come in with your question. If you want to send us a question beforehand, you can send your questions to admin@epictogether.org. That's admin@epictogether.org. And ask away, and then we'll come here and answer some more questions. Thank you, Zane, for being our
Yeah, I
special
like
guest
the
today.
question.
Yeah, your questions were so great, so great. And yeah, this has been fun. And I love being epic together.
Yeah.
Epic together. Together, we are always epic. And thank you to everyone here. So we'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty.
All
That's
right,
good.
everyone. Talk
I'm
to you.
gonna call you anyway.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.